It's no secret that people for many years want Springtrap to be added to DVD, with the intention behind it leaving behind both a good and bad impression with the future of this game. But nonetheless, after a year of him being in the game, how is he overall? He's okay. He's not top tier, but he's also not the worst like most people would assume. He's more so someone who's in the middle of anyone's tier list, but I would be lying if I didn't think he could be in a better spot. But not with the axe, since I think that's in a better spot compared to beforehand, but with his main way of getting around the map, the doors. The thematic aspect to the series that Springtrap comes from is also the one that tends to be widely ignored in main people's matches against him, unless you're either in a big map or in a team. So that's what I want to talk about today. How do we thematically fix the one aspect most people tend to ignore and improve upon it on both sides? When it comes to the axe, I would say it's in a good spot with the cooldown being less punishing than it once was, but it has some more further aspects of what might be added or changed. For the survivor side, if you remove the axe that's embedded into you, have the order of the axe be revealed to everyone on the map, so they have an idea on what to look for on the canvas. And on the killer side, I wouldn't mind if it out like loot bag was base kit with Springtrap to make it be more of a threat than just in chase. And I wouldn't mind if they made the post-throw cooldown be 1.5 seconds instead of 2 seconds to avoid that awkward stare down that most Springtrap players have of missing that shot with the axe. But if I were to buff the axe with Springtrap in any sort of way related to chase, it would be to maybe make it so that survivors who are embedded by the axe would also be 5% hindered, to give the idea that the axe is heavy on both sides. But that's about it. Now when it comes to the bubble, it's a different story. Since the bubble works like an info tool, in case you missed the shot, you can at least use the killer instinct from it to keep track of them. But in execution, it comes down to it being useless and an annoyance, because you will get the information from it even though you're standing in front of them or in line of sight of that person, making the info from the bubble not that useful to you in that moment. So how do we make the bubble not as useless as it seems? Yes, there are analysts that can make getting affected by the bubble have their ups and downs on both sides, but what would be a good base kit effect for the bubble itself? I can see 1 to 2 ideas on making the bubble more useful. The first idea being that you copy Unknown's UPX 6% hinder and make it whenever you come out from the bubble, it lingers for let's say 3 to 4 seconds. Now the problem with this being that this will be the safe and lazy copy and paste way of making it effective. The second idea being that whenever a survivor interacts with the bubble, they will slowly have their vision become more and more blurry from the ash effect, like how Clown's gas blur effect used to have. Always the problem with this in mind being that this wouldn't really affect survivors that are good at the game, it would only cause the same issue that Dredge has with his Nightfall, where you can't see what's in front of you. Now that's all I want to say relating to his chase, since that's the least problematic issue I have with Springtrap. The real issue I have is related to this next section. Now as the expert with door grabbers, let me say this. I think the idea behind the doors being able to teleport both sides is a fun concept, in theory, but in practice, it's the issue we're currently dealing with today, where on the killer's side, some door placements / spawn logic are in horrible spots, making you wonder why they're placed here. What the fuck is this door logic? What the absolute hell? Wait.
Show me your screen, I want to see this. Ew. What is this? It's so bullshit. That is so bullshit.
That is so. That makes sense. What's this? Which also makes dealing with people who view you from the canvas an issue due to their location and not knowing which door is being used. Having survivor friends being the only ones knowing how to use the doors in a way to hurt your chase time by making the Springtrap player unable to make any sort of mind games because of his aura being shown to everyone. Then you have the other side where they have an easy way of getting around the map like Springtrap by being able to choose whatever door they wish to teleport to at will with no consequences, and having an easy way to trigger perks aggressively, like Decisive Strike. But then you have the issue on the solo side where some people don't really know what they're looking for and wasting time rather than doing generators, or them getting grabbed from the door because they didn't bother checking around the canvas. So yeah, I have a lot of problems with this part of his power on both sides. And how do we make it so that both sides still can get benefits from this? Let's start with Springtrap first. The first thing I would change is to speed up his teleportation from door to door from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, and make him coming out from the door from 1 second to 0.5 seconds. This will softly deal with one of Springtrap's counters that will beat people running ahead of time. But to make sure this buff can't be abused in a 3-gen type of scenario, if the Springtrap player were to teleport to the same 2 to 3 doors within 20 to 30 seconds, the speed of him traveling and him coming out will revert back to what it is right now. The second thing I would change is related to the reveal mechanic, where whatever camera the survivor is using to reveal you would be highlighted, and I would make it, if they're revealing you through a wall or floor, it would take 8 seconds, but making it so if they're revealing you out in the open, it would take the same amount as it currently does, being 4 seconds. And finally, a personal change I will make with Springtrap in the doors is, when he does come out from teleporting, his footsteps should be silent, since, in my opinion, he has the same issue that Dredge used to have, where for someone who has a stealth part of his power, they're still loud. Even when he's undetectable, his footsteps are not suppressed, making you still able to track him through walls. So here's my idea on redesigning the door system. The main idea would be, instead of having his aura revealed when exposing it through the cameras, they would instead block off access from using that door for about 20 to 30 seconds for both sides. Similar to how in FNAF 3, if he was in the vent, you shut off the closest vent he was in to avoid him getting closer to the office. And on the killer side, I would make breaking the doors with the axe a permanent thing, where the survivors would either have to walk up to that door to fix it, taking 6 seconds, fix it from afar with the door they're using, taking 13 seconds, and finally, if there's more than one door broken, they will have to go inside the office to manually fix them all, taking 20 seconds. These changes, in my opinion, will help make it feel more closer to how it was in the series, and make the cameras on both sides have a meaningful reason to be used outside of just swifts, and making it more possible to go for grabs rather than just farming them or get it by random chance as they are right now. So let's carry on to the next section of the video, the add-ons. Now, Springtrap is one of the lucky few that doesn't have repeat add-ons. Like for example, some killers will have 2 to 3 add-ons that would do the same effect, with the main difference being the higher tier ones giving a higher percentage, making the lower tier percentage ones redundant. But most of the add-ons for every killer can be boiled down to 3 categories: useful, niche, and useless, with Springtrap's add-on looking like this. So let's put on a creative spin with these add-ons that don't get much use. One Pizza. I believe this is Springtrap's worst add-on, and while most people would believe that another add-on is its worst, I disagree due to the fact that at least that add-on does something, while this one does nothing. So my rework idea would be to change this into his meme add-on, where you can no longer down people with your power, but the main benefit being people that are now embedded with the axe will leave behind a trail. Similar to how Master, when she follows Snug's trail, that would mainly focus on the grab aspect of his power. Help 1 add. A simple rework to this add-on, since any add-on that requires you to see your trajectory or reticle that could have been in the option menu is incredibly outdated. So I think making this add-on more range focused to encourage people to go for more long range shots. Office Phone. The idea for this add-on is good in theory, the main issue being that the moment you either recall the axe back or the survivor moves it, the effect goes away. So giving it a linger effect should softly deal with the issue. Security Guard's Badge. With the rework cameras in mind, there should be an add-on that should help decrease the duration of the doors being shut. And this add-on right here fits the bill. Streamers. With the changes to you coming out of the doors being faster, this door add-on will need to be changed. And since we have an aura add-on related to having the axe embedded to them, how about one related to the doors? Chiku's Biv. Good idea for an add-on, with the main issue being the duration. So simply increasing the effect to be longer wouldn't change much other than being quality of life. Freddy's Hat. As annoying as this add-on can be, I think it's fine as it is, as it's meant to change up your playstyle, similar to Adrenaline Vial. Does that justify it being very niche and situational as it is? Not really. So the biggest quality of life change I could give it just make it so the axe comes down 50% faster to fit in with the theme of it being heavy, with another idea being that if the 5% hinder is being added for the base axe, you could easily make it so that this add-on gives that effect to justify it being used more. Access panel. With how the door logic spawns are like, I think increasing the range by double would fix the issue of it being a waste of an add-on slot. Aiming higher and we get old lifeguard whistle that demo used to have, and no one wants to see that add-on come back. Subway poster. The diminishing return system being in the game, I wouldn't mind slightly adjusting the haste effect close to how it was on the BTB, but also changing how the volt speed works as well. Instead of you getting the effect immediately, it would instead be 10%, and depending on the amount of people inside the 32 meter range, will increase the effect by 10%. So if everyone is in the range, the highest it can go will be 40%. Loot bag. My thought process when making this was simply, what if dramaturgy was an add-on? And that's basically the idea, which I feel like could work well with the bubble he has. Fast coin. The one change I would easily make towards this add-on is increasing the duration to be 20 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Since the idea of this add-on is good, it just needs a small number tweak to make it even better. Iridescent Remnant. This add-on is stuck in a bad spot on both sides, because as it stands, this add-on is bad predictable because the moment you do teleport to a door, the effect starts giving you 9 seconds instead of 12 seconds, making it easier for anyone to run away from the effect. But then there's the issue where if you were to buff it to make the effect starts the moment you come out from the door, you make a power yet boring add-on to deal with. So this rework should make it more appealing to deal with and use on both sides. To keep a better example of this add-on in action, think of it similar to Jungle Queen's knife from Overwatch, or better yet, think of it similar to the Leviathan axe from God of War, where if you recall it from behind an enemy, they'll get hit by it. Oh well, do I think Springtrap is in dire need of this rework?
No.
What we got here is good enough, but I wouldn't mind if they were to take a crack at making the doors unique on both sides than what we have at the moment. And hey, at least he's not minus with how badly they abandoned his theming for his half-assed rework.